So what's the best practical process of collecting and measuring clip yield? I can't probably tell you that. Stevie can.
I chose 2 greens, the putting green, which is the most exposed green on the golf course, and the 6th green, which is little to no air movement, but still gets lots of sun. Both greens are of similar sizes, and both greens are cut with the same hand mower. The clippings are then put into separate buckets, and then they're compressed and taken down to the yard to dry off for a couple of hours. They're then weighed on the digital scales that you see here. We take 505 grams off that, as that's the weight of the bucket with no clippings in it. And this process is done around the same time every day. The information is then put onto this spreadsheet that I've had made up. As you can see here, there's a section here for clip yield and clip weight, and then it goes down to averages. We are between 1 and 1.5 is a magic number for PG, for the putting green. For the 6, it's 2 and 2.5, and that's easier said than done. We'll also collect other information, such as height of cut in here. You can insert comments where you put smooth roller, groove roller, clean up, or anything you want, to be honest. And in addition to that, you have single cut or whether you've rolled that day. We have a maintenance section in here, from foliar feeding, wetting agent, PGR, through to top dressing, if so, how much. Solid tining, if so, what size of tines. Daily information is collected from the weather station, minimum, maximum temperatures, solar radiation and rainfall, etc. We collect soil moisture on a daily basis, along with firmness readings with a clegg hammer and stimp meter readings for speed.
So there's a whole world of information there. I mean, it's probably what you're doing anyway in terms of your own diary. You're recording when you're aerating, top dressing, volume of dressing applied, height of cuts, etc. The beauty of this, it's all in one sort of central information. And once set up, how long does it take to add in per day?
I think the point of it is getting set up took a little bit of time, but it's 2 to 3 minutes every day it's done. And also, if you make mistakes, which we all do, you can pinpoint them very quickly without going through worksheets. You can look by, why did this happen? 2 or 3 days, oh, we applied wetting agent behind, the greens were slowed down. Then you know and you learn from it moving forward.
It's like any data set becomes more valuable, certainly after year 1. You can think back in terms, right, what was going on April, May, July last year? What did we do? What results did we see? It's a whole learning process. We learn every day out in the field, don't we? And everything's about playability. Now, as Stevie said, Queenwood's got very specific demands, certainly in terms of the tour golfers that practice there and the discerning membership that they've got, the demands that they've got there. So looking at playability now, we've been taking, but you take firmness readings more regularly, but again, we've always seen the outputs, in terms of performance outputs, where I want them to be in terms of firmness. And again, that ability to refine, to react quickly to the changes which are occurring from inputs or environmental changes has allowed us to keep smoothness and trueness. Really, again, it's art of greenkeeping, respond right where I want to be, world-class values in terms of smoothness and trueness. So excellent control. And again, verifying green speed is right where I want it to be. Interestingly, again, the change, that's where there want to be a target. There's going to be changes where it sort of surges a little bit more than you want. And to bring that back in, keep, just because we can get, any club can, maybe if their target for green speed is 9.5 foot, then you get it to 10.5 foot, let's get it to 11. But again, there might be an architectural limit on what you're trying to achieve there, so keep control is the moral of the story. I want to go back to this graph again and think a little bit more about organic matter. So measured at 20 millimeters and measured monthly in this situation. Why were we measuring monthly? Do we need to measure monthly? No, in reality. But the fact we got so much information, we wanted to look this year in terms of what was going on in growth. We wanted to think, right, okay, well, is growth changing organic matter? Additional growth, more plant material maybe that will need to be broken down if we haven't got those conditions. Maybe it'll accumulate if we can't keep control of growth. So wanted to look monthly in terms of what's going on. Does that follow any pattern, certainly with GDG? Does organic matter go up and down through the year maybe? What did we see? So top 10 millimetres, measuring at 10, 20, 30, 40 millimetres depth. I think the first thing we learnt was when you're measuring so much, and it started in February, ended in April, we just missed, I think, October data. When you're measuring 7 greens over that period, you'll see some variances, natural variances. And certainly they can be influenced with sample condition, sample location. So again, you've got to keep standard operating procedures quite tight as you can. So if you're measuring once per year, twice per year, make sure that your locations are as close as you can get. The samples are in as good a condition that you get. If you do get the odd change that you see, one green suddenly goes down or goes back up, okay, maybe something to look at, and suddenly when we repeated it, we could see a little bit more of a trend. So that's what we're looking for, a trend. And we saw, it's kept control, top 10 millimetres, which is what we expected because we're keeping control of inputs. 10 to 20 millimetres, again, that's where, once you're certainly at the top, out the sward, then you will see some variances. But again, overall, we see that line, stayed within 1% of where we want it to be. Slight surge in the 7th green there, but again, maybe just a sample error at that point. So we had got control. Now, you might be sitting in a room thinking, well, we're not Queenwood. We can't possibly do that spreadsheet, although, as Stevie said, only takes minutes to put in. We can't go out there every day recording various performance matters. But this is data taken from Bedford and County Golf Club. Unfortunately, Adam Butler, course manager, couldn't be here today. But he's measuring weekly off one green. And this is his litres clip yield. And I think the important thing, although you're sort of measuring weight and litres as well, you're generally using litres to take that information forward. Yeah. Okay. So measuring litres, you can see the battle. So we start in April, 5th of April, and growth, there's not a lot of growth going on, which is what we saw from that challenge, that sort of GDD bouncing up and down. So not a lot is going on. In this situation here, Adams found that he just generally wants to be between 3 and 4 litres off his green. As I say, that might change for you in terms of what your green type is, your size of your green, obviously is going to change. Once we got into later May and June, then things started to react. The story continues here. So started to go down, and he's driven the growth down or gone a little bit more aggressive. So he's going a low clip here. That peaked at the time of the major competition of the year. So getting greens running at their best as he saw, smooth and true and quickest. So he's taken growth down. Coming out of that, he was a little bit concerned about stress. Just come out of my big competition. I've driven them, pushed them quite hard. We were worried about disease, anthracnose, etc. Fertiliser's gone on. Got it to where I want to be, and then suddenly it's gone up. It's gone too high. So that fertiliser, I think it was a granular application, has had too much of a response. It's taken a little bit of time then to get back down to where he wants to be, between that 3 and 4. Got it there, another competition around about there. Again, just come back out a little bit too high. Then we're starting to get into autumn period, and those nighttime temperatures will put in the brakes on growth. And so we've got not much going on. Now, interestingly, what happened there? And he sent me the information through. He said, right, granular fertiliser went on. Came out of it had gone on. It went then frosty. First time this year we've had frost before Christmas for a few years. And then went warm again, and we got a warm day, warm night. And the fertilisers hung around, and bang, growth has just gone nuts. His next bullet point on the email I sent to me, thank God I got a fungicide on. So that growth has got away from him, soft, lush growth, disease risk. So again, good information there to think, right, next year, maybe change the strategy, maybe keeping liquids out there a little bit longer. So we've got challenges there in terms of the physical challenges of keeping your sprayer out on the golf course. But little and often, maybe through that autumn period, a little bit more control. It's either going to get used or it's not going to get used, rather than a granular hanging around. So it's useful to all, useful to Bedford and County Golf Club. What's special about Bedford and County Golf Club? Nothing really. Don't mean that in the wrong way, but 18-hole parkland course, sward-based greens, no formal drainage like many. POA blend, POA dominated. Good control of organic matter. That's important because I think you're getting a little bit more reliability over performance, maybe a little bit more reliability over mineralization within that freely available nutrient. The clip yield is taken weekly, it's the 17th green. You've got a mix of triple cutting and hand cutting. You can do this triple cutting as well. It's not, you don't have to have just hand mowers. You could collect just one box off your triple mower, or 3 boxes, or you're just using your hand mower. And he's got 5 green staff, including himself. So, not huge resources, and yet finding the time to collect and use the information. How does he use the information? In Adam's own words. In 2016, he's reduced nitrogen inputs by 21% by learning what's going on. By measuring clip yield leading up to a tournament, and through the year, I can really dial in greens performance, not by lowering the height of cut, but through careful applications of fertiliser and trinexapac ethyl, while not affecting plant health. More controlled autumn clip yield, other than that spike going into the winter that we saw. When applying PGR, we just iron and phosphate. No nitrogen going with it. Less disease, more control of disease. And from my findings, I found soil moisture drives growth more than nutrient inputs. And I think that's a really interesting comment. Moisture alone, maybe it's that mineralization that moisture and temperature is driving together, rather than the inputs of nitrogen alone. I think I would certainly agree with that, and I think you've got past experiences as well, Steve, haven't you?
Yeah, I think no matter how much testing you're doing, there is times when obviously the climate takes control, and there is times when it's warm when you have to water, whether it's at weekends and we all have to leave at a certain time, and you have to get your greens through the day, and you do get fluctuations in growth, and you've just got to learn to deal with that. Yeah.